Welcome. Welcome to New Light Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ulrika Sullivan. Thank you for tuning into this show. I'm an intuitive spiritual life coach, and in this podcast, I mix spiritual and universal principles with life-changing practical tools to help you to get you where you want to be. I want these changes, these tools that I share with you to become real for you so that you can integrate body, mind, and spirit through your process of change instead of just staying in your mind as a thought. I help you see your life in a new light. If you felt drawn to listen to this show, you may be looking for an outlet for all the swirling thoughts that you may be dealing with right now. You may be looking for a way to capture your thoughts and feelings, but you haven't really found that right way yet because it doesn't feel natural to you. You may have so many thoughts and feelings, and it's building up. You can feel it. And now is the time to purge, to release. Journaling may be the solution for you. I created this show for you, and you landed here just at the right time. Today's topic is how to start journaling when you don't know what to write about. And I also recorded a bonus video for you with more personal tips from me. And I'll show you what I love about my journal and how I use it. So look for the link to the video below in the show notes and go there and access that special video after the show. Have you ever had a diary? You know, that notebook that you used to write in on a daily basis, and you maybe wrote what happened that day, maybe where you were and who you were with, if the weather was good or not, etc. I remember I wrote in a diary in my teenage years and maybe even into my 20s. I remember that diary, it turned into my planner. And I wrote a little bit about the day that had passed, and then I wrote down what I had to do the next day. And I used a planner for years. My diary turned into a planner, and that's all I used. That was how I ran my life, through my planner. Not anymore. I don't keep a diary anymore, but I do have a calendar for planning. But nowadays, I keep a journal. And I have so many journals that that almost fills the whole cabinet. So, what is the difference between keeping a diary and journal? Today, I want to dive deeper into this life-changing tool of journaling that I've used now for years. And it's so powerful that I can say that my journal is my safe haven for my mind to release. And it actually is a key to my mental well-being. I would go as far to say that. And I'll share with you in this show how you can get started with journaling and how to use a journal as a tool to release frustration and reduce the stress you might be feeling right now, that bottled up feeling and stress. Do you have monkey brain? Are you familiar with that term, having a monkey brain? And do you feel like your mind is full of chatter, worried thoughts, and that your mind is jumping from one thing to another all the time? And it's keeping you from feeling clear and focused. You may think, my thoughts are all over the place. So how on earth am I going to know what to write down? And I want to write down the right things in my journal. Interesting. The right things. What are those? So why does it have to be the right things or nothing? That's also interesting. Think about that for a moment. Anyway, this monkey brain is likely the reason for a lot of your frustration and distraction that you may feel in your life right now at this time in our lives. And with learning how to really do intuitive journaling, because that's what we're talking about here, which is an approach and a tool, a very powerful tool when it comes to help clear that monkey brain and clear that mind chatter. And the key here is that there are no ways to find out what to write before you start. So there are no right things to write in your journal. It's a stream of consciousness that guides you to the words to write down. Now, that is interesting, isn't it? So how do you get started with journaling? How do you know what to write if your brain is on overdrive and you're used to creating this endless way of lists, maybe to-do lists? Like, that's what we've been trained to do, right? We are trained to have all of these to-do lists and what to do next and next and next. No, journaling is a stream of consciousness, and you'll be amazed what you find out when you do this, take this approach to journaling. So here's my take on this approach to journaling. And if what I've said so far isn't really connecting with you yet, simply, it's not what you write, it's how you go about your journaling. In this show, you'll learn the intuitive way to journaling, and you'll learn why the intuitive way of journaling is so much more powerful than dumping your thoughts onto a to-do list. If you let your intuition guide your journaling, you'll discover some amazing things that you may have never tapped into before. This is a tool to elevate your self-awareness around what are the thoughts and feelings that really goes through your mind. And this awareness can guide you to immense clarity about yourself and your situation and what comes for you next. And that's what journaling is helping with. This intuitive approach to journaling will allow you to connect with your higher self, and your words would flow onto the page naturally. And on the flip side, journaling that some of you may have done before, using the logical mind only. And the logical mind is a mind that wants to make sure you write down the right things first. Like you probably think through a sentence first and then maybe select the words that comes down on the page. That is the difference. That's the logical mind that is in action then. And in that scenario, you will only access a limited story. You will only access a limited perspective that your mind can make sense of. And that's not what we're talking about here. With intuitive journaling, you can access insights that you may have never come across before. And the messages that come out may help you to tap into deeper insights about yourself and your expanded consciousness in a way that your logical mind is not able to do. So for me, a couple of years ago, there were a lot of thoughts swirling around in my mind all the time. I felt so distracted, scattered, and I felt that I needed a different outlet rather than just recycle my thoughts over and over again on to-do lists and post-it notes here and there. So what it did for me, this scattered approach, really caused more worry and more doubt and left me feeling drained. So I decided to buy a new shiny journal and try something new. I remember going to the store and I walked by the shelves there and finding a journal that really reminded me of, it just captured an image for me that it was like a magical book of some sort. I remember because I carefully chose it. It was a bound journal and it had some gold on it, and it just made me feel really at peace immediately. And I loved the way the journal looked and felt in my hands. It was a special journal for special thoughts, for sure. I had maintained a diary from time to time before, which captured what had happened each day and so on, as I said. And I really just used kind of whatever scrap paper or some kind of notebook from school or work or whatever it was. But this book, this journal that I selected for myself really symbolized what I wanted to become. And I realized that now in hindsight. So journaling for me became a way to empty my mind so that I could receive the answers clearly. The journaling grew into becoming a way to ask my higher self questions. And that way I could get answers back. And those kind of answers that you just know is the truth. The kind of answers you can feel. You can feel them when they come out on the page. It's like that full body, yes. So that's the difference. My journal became a trusted partner that has stayed with me on my personal growth journey. I learned about the power of free writing, intuitive writing, and intuitive journaling, and the freedom of starting a new day with a blank page in my journal and just allowing myself the space to write without stopping for at least 5 or even sometimes 10 minutes. It's pretty amazing, actually, to write for as little as 5 minutes without interruption, without stopping, and then go back and look what came down on the page. So are you getting excited to try something new? Try a new approach to journaling. Would you like to try this out instead of your daily to-do list? Yeah, cool. So how do you get started with intuitive journaling? Here are a few tips that you may want to begin with. And if you want to dive deeper into journaling right away, go watch that video that I recorded for you. And the link is below in the show notes. I'll show you my journal and how I combined meditation and journaling. And I'll give you some very powerful journal prompts as well that you will get you going right away with this intuitive journaling approach. All right, are you ready? So here we go. Again, if you don't have a special, beautiful journal that really speaks to you right now, I recommend you to go buy a new journal that represents what you want to become. And you may have had old notebooks that you picked up at a conference, at work, or from the kids' school surprise, or, or whatever that that you bought for them for school. No, don't use that old stuff. Go buy yourself a special journal that, is just like, oh, I can't wait to start writing in this little journal. Because it's not going to bring you the inspiration you need to get started with journaling unless this journal is very special to you right out of the gate. So I'll tell you, nothing is better than a shiny new special journal that you love. So take your time to find that special journal. That's step one. I would also say buy yourself a really special pen. And I also want to say to you that for those of you who are, preferring to write on a computer or on your phone, and what do you mean, Ulrika? You're going to start writing on paper? That's old school. Yes, it is old school. But the thing is here, my philosophy is that if you're going to connect to your higher self, it needs to come through your body, down out on the page naturally. And that is not the same if you write on a computer. or on a phone or something on a keyboard. So I totally recommend for you to write on paper so that you can hold this book. You can hold it, you can bring it with you. It feels different, right? Are you with me there? Now, the second tip I want to give you here when it comes to journaling is that you want to journal at a time of day that matches with your own inner rhythm. If you're, for example, if you're a morning person, journal in the morning. If you're a night owl, journal in the evening or at night before bed, because there's no right and wrong here in terms of the time of day when you are journaling. Decide when it's a good time for you, and think about, what is my rhythm over the course of the day? When am I at my best? When is my mind really available for this type of journaling? So, and if you don't know, maybe you just want to experiment with it. Maybe it's the first thing in the morning, and if that doesn't feel right, 100% right, try an evening time. And I want to also, step 3 here is meditate before journaling. And I can't speak highly enough about meditation. And if you, this intuitive journaling approach works best if you're tuned in and centered. So to meditate first and then follow right after that with journaling is the most powerful way to download what's truly up for you and what you really need to release. And the reason is that you want to meditate before journaling is that without being tuned in and clear and centered, you're still working with the monkey mind thoughts. The logical mind is too active. So you want to be able to bypass that monkey mind, that logical mind, and connect to your inner higher self, and connect that with your writing. So meditation is a great way to get into that tuned in, centered mode. And the fourth tip here, let the pen flow and free write. After meditation, set an alarm for the amount of time you want to free write with this intuitive journaling approach. And if you're completely new to this, and it feels kind of, how am I going to do this? I recommend just to start with 1 to 3 minutes of this free writing technique. So just set your alarm for whatever time you want to write undisturbed. And I need to say that as well. You make sure that you are not going to be disturbed either through the time of meditation or when you're journaling. So make sure that you're not going to get disturbed or distracted by anything. And right after meditation, you open up your new shiny journal and grab your pen. And what you do next is to let your eyes gaze softly on the blank paper and start writing. The pen will want to move. So when the pen wants to start to move, you just move it. And here's the key. Don't think, just write. Whatever comes up for you in that moment, don't even think what the first word is. Just move the pen and out it comes. It doesn't have to make sense. Just write nonstop for the time that you set until the alarm goes off. Just write. Don't look at what comes down. Don't go back and read what came down on the page until that alarm stops. All right? Promise me that. When the alarm stops, or when you feel you're empty of, because here's the thing, if you don't, in the beginning, you may want to use the alarm, but after a while, when you get trained in this, you may not even need an alarm. You just kind of go until you feel that you're done, when everything is released that needs to be released in that moment of journaling. And when you feel done, go back and read. Here's the 5th tip. Go back and read what you wrote. Because when you free write in this way, you'll be connected to your higher self, your true self. So what you write may not be in complete sentences. And you may find that it's unstructured and very different from how you usually write, the style that you're using. So go back and read what you wrote, because you want to look for messages and clues and signs in your writing. And you may even want, as you read what you have been journaling, draw images or connect words with each other, mark with hearts and stars or any other symbols and things that mean something to you. So get visual as you read through what came out. I often go back in my journal 1, even 2 weeks or months back, and I look for my heart where I marked something profound that I learned, or a message or a clue that came out on the page. I put a little heart there so that I can, that marks usually an intuitive hit of some sort that I got. So it's a really important step to go back and decipher, so to say, and put the extra symbols or drawings or links in, and draw the links between the words afterwards. So I also want to say, I want to emphasize this, that this is your truth. What comes down on the page can reveal your deepest truths and desires. So don't ignore what comes down on the page, because the logical mind may want to ignore or explain away things that comes down on the page. Even if it doesn't make sense, the logical mind is going to step in and say, hey, this doesn't make sense. So there are clues and messages for you in there, in what came out. This is your truth. Remember that. And the sixth tip here is really to do it again tomorrow, because your personal growth journey is supported by your journaling. And the more you get into journaling, the more support you're going to feel through this way of downloading your daily thoughts and feelings onto the page. I recommend including journaling in your daily morning routine. That's how I do it. But as I said earlier, this may be different for you. You may have a different rhythm. But for me, it works really, really well to include meditation and journaling in the first thing in the morning. And this intuitive journaling approach is going to make total difference for you. I promise you that. You will feel more clear. You'll gain great self-awareness about what actually goes on in your life, what actually goes on in your mind. And the amazing discoveries that can be made through intuitive journaling, even if you don't know what to write, can be profound as you go back and review what you just wrote. I have sometimes thought that I already knew the answer to an issue. I had totally made up my mind, right? But when my intuitive writing, my intuitive journaling, when I did that, it actually showed me a completely different answer and revealed what I truly felt about an issue. Because we're all busy, right? And our logical minds are constantly distracting us. And we want to do the right thing, but we rarely allow the truth to lead. So this intuitive writing approach in journaling could provide you with that direct line to your true self that is always going to walk you down the right path for you. Trust that. Because if you allow yourself to just release and write down anything that comes up through that pen that moves on the blank paper, that is your truth. So in summary, if you want to start journaling and don't know what to write, follow these steps. Go buy a new journal. That's the first step, a new one, a new shiny one. Journal at a time of day that is a match with your own inner rhythm. Meditate before journaling and let the pen flow and move and free write. And then when you feel done for that session, go back and read what you wrote and find your truth in there. And lastly, do it again tomorrow. All right? How does that sound? We've been talking about in this show how to start journaling when you don't know what to write. And intuitive journaling is such a powerful tool to increase your self-awareness and come in touch with your true self and what you truly feel about a matter. And what you can do too is that you can ask questions. You can ask questions starting within your meditation and then allow it to flow seamlessly from meditation to journaling. So that's also a very powerful way. But if you're a beginner, you don't have to ask questions. You can just sit in meditation and then allow yourself to just release and write down without any, set intention or question. And journaling this way is, as I said, to connect you with your intuition and bypass your logical mind. Connecting to your true, honest feelings about something is not always directly felt in the moment, I should say, too, because journaling capturing your deepest feelings in the moment, and they are available to you to connect with again and again through this approach. You can always go back in your journal and there you see it. If there's something that's still not clear after a journaling session, you can go back to those notes at any time, maybe even a year after you actually wrote it the first time, and then it clicks. So it's a great way to capture, thoughts, they just flee away otherwise, and they're gone, right? But the journaling will help you to capture that deepest truth. And maybe it's 3 weeks later it clicks for you. Insights from your true higher self and guides are available to you at any time. And journaling may be a powerful way for you to connect in that way. Thank you for listening. I am so thankful that you, just you, are tuning into this show. Join our private Facebook group, New Light Living Podcast Community, if you want to enter a community of like-minded that may also be in the right space, just where you are now, the right space for you at this time in your life. And if you feel you could benefit from some accountability and support to start journaling and go download that video that I recorded for you, because there I give you some extra tips on how to get started, some extra journal prompts, powerful journal prompts that you may want to start with and expand into, and also how to develop a practice that actually gives you insights from your deepest, truest self. And lastly, go buy that shiny new journal today and bring it home, put it in a special place, and get started. All right, good luck with that. Trust the process, do the work.